Hi, I'm Taryn, and I'm the host of Most Fashionable Crime, a fashion-related true crime podcast. This is a bonus episode before the next season begins in February, and there will be another bonus episode in January. If you haven't listened to the podcast, go ahead and listen to that before watching this video. In the podcast, I talk about how Gabby Petito's and Brian Laundrie's digital footprint, and more so an intentional digital footprint, made their true crime saga probably the biggest true crime story of 2021. In this video, I'm going to talk more about the respectability within true crime and how certain cases get pushed to the front and other cases don't receive as much attention. So if you listen to the podcast, you know that I mentioned the stories about Rachel Cho, Angela Tremonte, Daniel Robinson, and how those stories didn't really receive as much attention as Gabby Petito's disappearance and ultimately her death. There are factors that cause people's cases to not receive as much attention, such as race and sexuality, which, you cannot control. There was a same-sex couple that went missing around the time of Gabby Petito, and obviously, that might not be as appealing when it comes to American standards, as well as they did not really have the all-American appearance that Gabby did. So maybe that's why their case didn't receive as much attention. And then you also have Rachel Cho. She's Korean American. She has piercings and tattoos. And for the most part, I would say a lot of people in the United States of America are still very conservative. And then you have Angela Tremonte, who flew out to meet a man for the first time, I believe. And of course, there are so many ways that people can just spin that against her by saying, why would you go out to meet a person for the first time across the country? We live in an age where that is common. And the thing is, that has been done before. A lot of people have met up and dated and even married people after the first time they have met them. So there's a lot of respectability when it comes to true crime and what stories get pushed to the front, in my opinion. In the podcast, I talk about how, of course, their digital footprint definitely gave media, people, everyone more content in order to try to solve the case, pretty much. And people just felt like they knew Gabby and Brian based off of what they posted on social media. Then we also have the disappearance of Daniel Robinson, a Black man from South Carolina who went missing in Arizona. And he's basically around the same age as Gabby and Brian. In his case, didn't receive that much attention because he's Black, he's a man, and he also has a limb difference. And we know that within this country, people have not been the most welcoming and understanding of people with physical differences, mental differences, anything that strays away from what people deem as normal or regular, basically, or even ideal. So American beauty standards, there is this look called the all-American look. And basically that look is usually a blonde woman, probably lean, thin in stature, maybe around 5'5" to 5'7" feet tall in height, probably has blonde hair and, probably blue eyes or even green or brown eyes. And so out of the people that I mentioned in the podcast, Gabby Petito had the all-American look that people, leap towards when it's on the TV that someone is missing. And it's also known as missing white girl syndrome or missing white woman syndrome. And if you're unfamiliar, especially if you're not in the United States, where this is referred to more commonly, missing white woman syndrome, according to Wikipedia, is a term used by social scientists and media commentators to refer to the media coverage, especially in television, of missing person cases involving young white upper middle class women or girls compared to the alleged relative lack of attention towards missing women who are not white, women of lower social classes, and missing men or boys. And we can also talk about socioeconomic status and how that plays a part as well. But if you wanted to take it by socioeconomic status, I can't really get a grasp of what their, do they come from upper middle class? Are they middle class? But I would think for them to be able to, trek across the country and just use whatever savings or whatever that they have, they, must have some kind of stability. Missing white woman syndrome did play a part in this, but so did their digital footprint, as I mentioned in the podcast. The thing is, at this time, there were so many different missing person or unexplainable death occurrences happening within the media, and their story definitely got pushed up to the front because of that, and as well as I believe other reasons. And the thing is, I'm not saying that she should not have received attention. I would love for all missing cases, all unexplained deaths to receive this amount of attention. It's very sad. Domestic violence is absolutely a real thing. From the police footage that we saw, there were definitely things that could have been done to help prevent her death. I really wish that more people were proactive when it comes to these cases and getting whatever organizations involved and taking these cases seriously is what I would love to happen for all of these cases. And I feel like we see this a lot because one of the major true crime stories in America is Jonbenet Ramsay. And it's not that she's missing, but there was never a person confirmed to be her murderer. And it's been years, decades since that happened. But I feel like we regularly see her case mentioned in the media, podcasts, TV, documentaries, that kind of thing. Jonbenet Ramsay was a young, white, pageant girl, blonde hair, blue eyed, if you're unfamiliar. But then you also have Relisha Rudd and Aisha Degree, who are two young black girls that have disappeared, and their cases don't receive that type of attention when it comes to them. So to conclude this video, yes, race, socioeconomic status, gender, sexuality, sex, that all plays a factor in who gets their story pushed to the media and more widely spread. Personally, I follow Black and Missing, which I will link in the description box, and I believe there are some other different organizations, especially when it comes to Native and Indigenous people within the United States of America, because I know a lot of Native and Indigenous women don't get as much coverage as well, so I will put links to that in the description box as well. Thank you for watching this video, and stick around for the next season.